So, Thomas, your new documentary, Knife Skills, is one of the shortlisted documentary shorts at this year's Oscars. First of all, congratulations on making the cut, no pun intended.
Uh, Thank you much.
You're welcome. Take us back to the beginning. What interested you about
Yeah.
this subject and made you want to turn it into a film?
Sometimes, oh, I'm sorry, I'm adjusting this. Just tell me if this is about right. But
Oh, you're good.
sometimes, you research brings you to a story, and at other times, a story just tumbles into your lap. I was having dinner with a friend who's a chef, a really good chef in New York, David Waltuck. And I thought I was just going to have dinner with him. And then there was this other guy who was there, and he was kind of a little bit strange. He seemed, his affect was a little odd, and he mumbled a lot. But I sort of drew him out a little, and he then said, "Well, I'm about to open the greatest French restaurant in the United States." I went, "Okay, great. Where?" "Cleveland." Wow. And the next thing he told me is that the staff was going to be almost entirely men and women just out of prison. And I knew within 5 or 10 seconds that there was a potential film there. And my great good fortune was that that chance encounter happened before he'd started, so I was able to really capture the foundation of this restaurant from the first day I arrived. He was painting the walls, so I really got the early start, and it was great.
And in your approach to the film, you take a real fly on the wall, observational. You're really getting to know these people and observing their lives and their journey. Can you talk a bit about ingratiating yourself into this environment?
Well, the people who were just out of prison, it's interesting. They had so many things to worry about, find a new place to live, find a car, find a job, repair your relationship with your family. And then hovering over all that is this nagging sense of like, maybe there's some flaw in me that I need to fix. So they had other things on their mind than me. They were just glad to have a friendly person around. I had no issue with them. Brandon, on the other hand, the founder of the restaurant, was a really tough nut to crack. He was happy to have my cameras in there, but he didn't want to talk to me much. And it took me a long, long time to get him to really open up. By the end, I think I have a really rich portrait of him, but that took some patience.
Well, I mean, how do you do that? You've been at this a long time. You've made a wide variety of documentaries on many subjects. How do you ingratiate yourself in a situation like that?
I try to be pretty straight. Like I say to him, Brandon, if you just try to show me all the good things in this restaurant and none of the problems, we're not going to have a film, and that's not good for you, and that's not good for me. I need access. I also said to him, you're not going to have anything to do with what this film looks like until after it's done. You do not get any editorial input. But here's why I'm doing it. And then I tell him, and then he's got to decide how much to trust me or not. But I think that the more people know, and if they feel like you're not hiding stuff, they're often, it takes time, but people will open up.
The film brings up some pretty staggering statistics about people who get out of prison. I mean, the number of people who end up back in prison after they get out. Was there something that you learned during the course of doing this movie that really surprised you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you get 2 points because you've clearly watched the film and thought about the film. And I've got to tell you, I get interviewed a lot. And sometimes, many times, I can tell the person hasn't done any homework at all. So that's really appreciated. It makes all the difference in the world when you're having a conversation. Second of all, there's a lot that I learned. I mean, I came in, I had no background in criminal justice. And I came in kind of expecting a lot of kind of tough and a little bit scary people. I spent a certain amount of time worrying about how I was going to secure my camera equipment when I was working. I had that stereotypical image of the big tattoos and the thick neck and the scary thing. And in fact, what I was struck by early on was just how deeply vulnerable most of the people were. There were a few tough nuts in the bunch. There was 80 people. I'm not saying everybody there was a saint, but on the whole, there was probably some trauma before they went into prison. There was probably more trauma in prison. These men and women were just so raw. They were so vulnerable. then, so eager to make things right. And then one after another, there came to be issues. And I came to see and discover what scholars and people who are in this field know a lot, which is it's a bumpy road. The road to recovery is, I wish it was a straight line. It's not. And I think the film shows you that. And I think that's part of the richness of the film.
To that point, I mean, you follow so many different people, not just in the restaurant, but also in their lives outside of it. Can you talk a bit about choosing what material you were going to use and shaping it into a 40-minute documentary?
Well, what started to happen was I started to feel the inner relationship between the different people and how um, everybody, I mean, look, you and I, all of us, we all have flaws in us that we're trying to fix, and we rely on the people around us to kind of get us through the things about ourselves that we don't love. And this was that process, except to the power of 10, you know? And so I wanted to do an ensemble piece that wasn't just about one person, but was about a bunch of different people. And that was tricky editing wise, but I'm glad I stuck to that idea because I think it's right. And the other thing is, as Billie Holiday said, get off the damn stage while they're still clamoring for one more song. So I tried to keep it short.
You've, like I said, you've done a lot of films about various subjects.
All over the map.
Yeah. So, I mean, what draws you to the films that you make and the subjects you explore?
Sometimes it's circumstance. Sometimes you think there's a funding opportunity somewhere. And other times like this, you just say to yourself, wait a minute. If this restaurant works, it's going to be a really interesting film. If it's a train wreck, it's going to be a really interesting film. You just, like, you can't, I just didn't see how this wouldn't work. And so I just started filming. Be careful though, because once you start filming, before you know it, it takes up a lot of time, and then you have to raise money to edit and all that sort of stuff. So be careful of the stories you fall in love with, because they can take a lot out of your life. This one sure did.
And because you are dealing with real people, I wonder, do you ever think about what happens to them after you're done? I mean, do you ever think of exploring it again?
I don't think I'll explore this any further, but you think about those people a lot, and you also think about your responsibility, meaning my responsibility to those people. Like at one point, I couldn't get the film finished. I couldn't raise the money, and these guys had turned away a lot of other media people who were interested because they thought I was their guy, and now I can't get it done. You know, so you think about that. Then you think about, like, this person, how is their family going to feel about when they see that? And so you think about those things a lot, but at the same time, your primary responsibility is to the film. And so you fall in love with those people as you're making the film, and then you kind of separate a little bit afterwards. And that's tricky too, because you say to yourself, you know, this person doesn't come off looking real great here, but this is true, and I'm going to do this, and it's dramatic and it's interesting, and I'm going to put this in. And then you have that gnawing feeling like, have I hurt somebody? And that's just part of my profession.
What do you hope people take away from the movie when they see it?
There aren't any talking heads, there aren't any experts, there are no lessons. I didn't go in with any lessons that I wanted to impart, and I just want people to understand that this is a huge American population, you know, close to 1 million people almost every year who come out of prison and have to start their lives. And I want people to look and see how dramatic, how difficult, how touching, how important that is. But the takeaways from it, that's going to be for them, for each viewer to decide. I want to put you in, I want you to meet those people, and I want you to think your own way through out of it.
As I mentioned, the film was shortlisted for the Oscar, and you are a previous Oscar winner in the documentary short subject category. You're also a nominee in that category and a nominee in the documentary feature category for one of my favorite movies, The Battle Over Citizen Kane.
All right, yeah.
What does that kind of recognition mean for you?
Listen, first of all, you should say to yourself, look, I've done this, I've been here before, let's be relaxed. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. You know, I have no idea whether the Oscar gods are going to be kind to me or not, but I can't say that I don't care. Of course I care. So there's a personal stake there. There's also, look, there's no sun that can shine down on a film like the Oscars. There's nothing close. And so I also know that it would be tremendous for this issue, for the film, to get that recognition, because it will give the film a big boost. It's a burst of wind into the sails. That said, I take nothing for granted. I have a 50% chance mathematically, and I reckon, flip the coin and see what happens.
Well, Thomas Lennon, thank you so much, and congratulations on the movie, and good luck with the Oscars.
It was a real pleasure talking to you.